Representative Russ, thank you for that great conversation. We're going to continue to focus on infrastructure here. This is live from Mackinac, sponsored by DTE Energy. We don't necessarily think of housing as a piece of infrastructure like we do roads, but we know it's a critical issue across the state, which is why we have two guests who aren't from Metro Detroit as part of this panel. We have Representative Kristian Grant, who represents Grand Rapids, as well as Representative Nancy Jenkins-Arno, who represents Lenawee County. Her hometown is Rawlin Township. This is an issue that spreads across the state. It is important that we get it solved. Housing costs, as we know, are rising, whether it is to purchase a home or rent a home, and you couple that with higher interest rates than we have seen in decades. It means that regular people are having a difficult time buying a home. So with that, Russ, I'm going to kick it back to you with the representatives, and let's have a great conversation about housing.
All right. Hello, and thanks for being here today.
Hello.
Housing, everybody wants to talk about it. Are things getting done to help the housing crisis in Michigan right now? Representative, we'll start with you, because you're on the west side of the state. Mm-hmm. Grand Rapids is an awful lot like the rest of the state when it comes to people just can't afford rental properties and, God forbid, buy a house at the moment.
Absolutely. And, I'll preface it with saying that we are seeing a housing crisis across the country. It's not unique to Michigan, but it is something that we have to address immediately. And so there is a lot of work happening on the policy side is where I've really been engaged. And for the past 2 years, I've been working on policy that addresses what are the key issues that are raising the cost of housing, as well as slowing down the production of housing. And so, that includes things like zoning reform. It includes things like looking at building codes, looking at workforce development, and then also, of course, looking at how we are funding housing and investing in housing across the state.
Outstate, how are we looking at is the crunch similar in more urban areas like Grand Rapids and Detroit? Because friends of mine up north say they have a hard time finding properties to buy or rent because of Airbnb and other properties like that. So how are we looking in the more rural areas of the state, would you say?
And that's where I'm from. I'm from Lenawee County, so that is a rural area. And, housing is an issue there as well. And so, but I think it's real important that when we're looking at the housing issue, that we allow the areas of the state to craft that in a way that is good for their area. Something that might be good for Grand Rapids doesn't necessarily mean it's good for Adrian. And so we need to allow the market, basically, to dictate what kind of housing we need in each area.
What are some areas where the legislature can dictate and kind of open things up for people?
Well, I'm the LEO chair, the chair of the LEO budget, and so we are looking at housing. We've actually had a couple committee meetings on housing. Brought Amy Hubby in to talk about some of the issues, and we are taking a deep dive into the boilerplate to see, what's going on there, and see. A couple of the things that I like to look at on the budget is return on investment, and also how to make Michigan the most productive state in the nation. And so, we can do that with housing. We can, as companies are looking for a place to locate, they have to find places that have good housing opportunities for their employees. And so, even in small towns in my area that are looking to bring companies in, they say, well, we have a problem with housing here, so we need to address that. Companies that are there, people are commuting back and forth maybe an hour or more to get to work because the housing just isn't there. So we need to find a solution for that.
Right. So this seems like a rare act of bipartisanship at the moment. Where is the common ground? And everybody's working towards the same thing. Are we looking at very similar ways to get this done?
Yes. So I want to back up just a little bit.
Sure.
When it comes to housing, There is no rural housing issue and urban housing issue. They're all the same. And the work that I do is absolutely data driven and looking at what's proven, what we know. And what we know is when it comes to housing, rural areas and urban areas are seeing the same issues, and they come from the same things, right? And so there are basic things that have slowed down housing. Just the fact that we haven't been producing housing across the country and across the state at the same pace that we were 20, 30 years ago. And so that's really slowed down as we have more families, more people being attracted to the state. That slowed down the housing options. But this work is absolutely bipartisan, and that's not new either. Even last session, as I was the chair of the housing subcommittee, made sure to have people from both sides of the aisle around the table and really working together. And we're continuing that into this session. And so there are a few areas that we can work on across the aisle, and housing is definitely one of them.
Excellent. So what is the best way to get new developments going immediately? Is it changing some zoning? Is it kind of reducing some of the permitting process, which can often take time? What's the best way to do it, you think?
I would say cutting some of the regulations that are out there, the permitting process that takes so long, is complicated. There's a lot of things. Even the governor talked about that in her State of the State address, that the permitting process is a very cumbersome and difficult thing to navigate. And so we need to make sure that our developers, our home builders are able to build these developments and houses that we need as quickly and easily as possible. But I do think, and just a little bit of disagreement there, I do think that we need to allow each area, like the urban areas and the rural areas, to determine what is the best for their area. Because I know in Lenawee County there was a development that was planned. It was a planned development, and sounded great back probably 20 years ago. And it's still basically the same as what it was back then. It hasn't developed really at all because people didn't really want that. There was somebody in the ivory towers up in Lansing said this is a great idea, but when you got down to the actual people in the community, they said that's not really something that we want. So we have to be careful and make sure that what we're doing is what the people want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think I said that Lansing should dictate everything about housing. What I'm saying is that there are things that we can do in Lansing that is data driven, that helps locals do their work more efficiently. So absolutely not taking away locals' opportunities to be engaged at all. Yeah.
Republicans and some Democrats have kind of shied away from big business investment and like maybe some tax credits in that regard. Does that affect housing as well? Because some people might be hesitant to come up with a 25 unit apartment building because like it will take several years for them to actually turn a profit after building it out. So I mean, is kind of spurring investment through tax breaks at interest at all to the legislature?
I think on both sides of the aisle there's hesitation. We've seen that in my caucus as well when it comes to some tax incentives. I think there's a place for that, right? I think you have a toolbox of things that work, but there are also other ways that we can be supportive. What we know is for a single family home, there's over $90,000 worth of, on an average, over $90,000 worth of permitting and fees before a shovel is even put into the ground. And so those costs are passed on to the elderly family that's moving there to downsize, or the young family that's moving there to grow a family. So there are other ways that we can find ways to cut those costs on the front end to help families be able to afford a place to live.
Yeah, is it better to subsidize or support single-family homes, or like larger apartment complexes or townhome complexes? What is the best solution for Michigan, or is it multi-pronged?
All of it, yeah. I don't think you can choose just single-family homes, or we need a really diverse stock of housing, because everyone has a different need. And we talk about this a lot, where I say there's a cycle of housing. People need an on-ramp, whether it's that first apartment they can rent, they meet someone, they get married, they need that first time home. And then once your kids move out and move on, you need to be able to be on a fixed income and be retired. right now we're missing things on all of those steps, right? Kids can't afford the apartment. They're living in their parents' basement until they're 30. When do you get married? If a first-time home is $500,000 or $600,000, right? Like, where's their on-ramp? And then we have seniors who are living in really great homes for families, but they can't afford to move out and downsize. So we need all types of housing stock right now.
Yeah.
And I would say that home ownership is such an important part of a stable society and economy as well. And so I think if we can work our way towards more home ownership, actually, and rather than rental, of course, we need that from time, as well, kind of transitioning towards the home ownership. But we need to find ways to make home ownership affordable for so many people. So I think that will help stabilize a lot of things in our economy.
Does that include like bringing some of the housing stock back and limiting the amount of Airbnbs in certain areas? Because there are a lot of Airbnbs available in the city of Detroit right now. If people are making that trip up north, a lot of them are booking like in and around Traverse City, and now people can't find houses because they're all rental properties. Is the legislature looking at some sort of regulation for some of those?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's been a long standing conversation. The thing that you find is when we're looking at short-term rental policy, it touches so much other policy. And so for me, the most important thing is to get more shovels in the ground immediately. And also, we can't leave the short-term rental conversation out. But it's late in the game for that conversation. So many things have happened. So like in Grand Rapids, there were really strict requirements around short-term rentals from the beginning. And a lot of people were upset, but our crisis would be such deeper if that hadn't have happened. But the thing is, when you have a shortage of supply, the demand for any type of use is just really extreme. We need to have more units of all different types, more ownership opportunities and things like that available, and then you'll find some relief in that short-term rental game. But the legislature, there are many conversations, many different types of policy being floated, and I don't think that any one version has gotten a majority of support at this point.
So,
I know this has been an issue in the past. I am new back into the legislature, so I know that was an issue that was being discussed prior. So I think, though, that we need to let the market decide a lot of what's going on with housing, and let that dictate what people need and what the areas need.
Gotcha. Well, we're in our final minute. Quickly, give me a timeline of when are we going to see legislation move this year? Things have been moving very slow in the legislature so far this year. Can we expect some sort of movement in the near term?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm talking like, before summer break might be a bit much, but like sometime this year.
In the next few weeks,
yeah,
absolutely. This work has been ongoing, and really excited to have some bipartisan policy moving in the next few weeks and being introduced. There are several different prongs that need to happen, and we have people working on several different areas, but it really is a joint effort to get some things done.
If I don't see something within the next few weeks, I'm making that call.
Me too.
Ladies, thank you so much for your
Thank you for
time.
having
I
us.
appreciate it.
It's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.